$50. That was the price of the worst night of my life. My friend challenged me to enter an abandoned water park that everyone in town was afraid of. I accepted. And in the middle of those rusty water slides and empty pools, we discovered we weren't alone. For you to understand this story, I need to go back in time a bit. This happened about 3 years ago. I was 19 years old and my friend Lucas was one of those guys who's always getting into trouble. In our town there was an abandoned water park called Aqua Park. It closed 10 years ago and became an urban legend. People said there were homeless people, drug dealers, even satanic rituals. Nobody had the courage to go in. One Friday night, Lucas challenged me. "I'll pay you $50 if you stay inside for 30 minutes. Pure stupid pride made me accept. At 1 a.m. we grabbed 2 flashlights and went there. When we arrived at Aqua Park, the place was even more sinister than I remembered. The fence was all rusted with faded private property and danger signs. You could see the tops of the water slides through the fence, those colorful tubes now covered in moss and dirt. Dude, is this still a good idea? Relax. 30 minutes and you're $50 richer. We found a part of the fence that was torn from the ground. We just had to lift it and pass underneath. Too easy, which was already a bad sign. When we entered, the first thing that struck me was the silence. There was no sound of cars, people, nothing. Just the wind passing through the empty water slides, making a low whistling sound that was extremely disturbing. The park was bigger than it seemed from outside. There was the pool area, which now were just cracked concrete holes filled with rotten leaves and rainwater. The water slides rose like plastic skeletons against the sky, and there were several kiosks and changing rooms, all with broken doors or smashed windows. Let's climb a water slide. Are you crazy? This structure must be all rotten. Just one photo from the top. It'll be awesome. I should have refused, but the adrenaline was already running through my veins. We started walking through the park, using the flashlights to illuminate the way. The ground was full of trash, broken glass bottles, old wrappers, even a lost flip-flop. With every step, I heard glass cracking under my foot. We passed by one of the changing rooms. The door was wide open. I took a quick look inside with the flashlight. Rusty lockers, broken tiles on the floor, graffiti on the walls. One of them said, "Get out of here," in huge red letters. Look at this. Someone tried to make this place look scary. They succeeded. We kept walking until we reached the base of one of the bigger water slides. It was that closed tube model, all blue, that made several curves before going down. The access stairs were still standing, kind of crooked, but seemed bearable. Let's go up. No fucking way. Dude, the view from up there must be insane. Just a quick photo. I sighed. Okay, but if this ladder falls, I'll kill you. We started climbing. Every step creaked too loud. The structure swayed slightly. My heart was racing, and it wasn't just from the physical effort. When we reached the top, the view really was impressive. You could see the entire city in the distance, the street lights, everything tiny. The park below looked like a cemetery of fun. Lucas took some photos. I just wanted to get down. That's when we heard it. A noise coming from below. Metal hitting concrete. We froze. Did you hear that? Must be the wind. We stayed silent for a few seconds, waiting to hear it again. Nothing. And then, another noise. Louder this time. And definitely not the wind. It sounded like footsteps? Someone walking through the debris? Lucas, we need to get out of here. Now. We went down that ladder so fast it's a miracle we didn't fall. My heart was racing. When we reached the ground, we stood still for a moment, just listening. Must have been a cat or a big rat. But I noticed he turned off his phone camera. When Lucas stops filming, it's because he's scared too. Let's go. It's been almost 20 minutes, you won the bet. There's still 10 minutes left. I don't care, man. This place is giving me the creeps. We started walking back toward the fence, but slowly illuminating everything around with the flashlights. I can't explain it, but the feeling was of being watched. We passed by the main pool area. It was the biggest of all, that wave pool that was the park's main attraction. Now it was just a huge concrete hole about 10 feet deep, filled with dirty water accumulated at the bottom. That's when Lucas stopped walking. Wait, what? Someone's living here. My stomach froze. Then we need to leave now before this person comes back. Or before they realize we're here. We turned to keep walking, but then I heard it again. Footsteps. Clearer this time. Coming from behind one of the kiosks to our left. And then, a light. A flashlight. Someone was also using a flashlight, moving between the structures. We turned off our flashlights immediately and crouched behind an old dumpster. There's someone here. We stayed there, crouched in the dark, watching that light move. Whoever it was, they were walking slowly as if they were looking for something. Or looking for someone. We stayed there, frozen, breathing as quietly as possible. The flashlight beam kept moving, getting closer and closer to our position. I could hear my own heart beating in my ear. The person stopped. The light also stopped moving. It stayed pointed in one fixed direction, illuminating one of the changing rooms. For about 5 seconds that felt like an eternity, nothing happened. Then we heard a voice, low, hoarse, talking to itself. "I know someone's here." My blood froze. The person started walking again, but this time in our direction. The flashlight beam swept the ground, the walls, searching. "We need to run. If we run, he'll hear us. If we stay, he'll find us." He was right. The person was about 30 feet away now. In a matter of seconds, the light would illuminate our dumpster. On three. 1, 3. We got up and started running. I didn't even look back. I just ran as fast as I could toward the fence. Behind us, I heard a scream. It wasn't a scream of fright. It was a scream of rage. "He's coming." We ran, stumbling over trash, jumping over debris. I turned on my flashlight again because I couldn't run in the dark, but that meant he could also see us. I looked quickly over my shoulder, and that's when I saw him. A man. Skinny, dirty, with a huge unkempt beard. He was wearing torn clothes, shirtless, and had something shiny in his hand. It looked like a knife or a piece of sharp metal. But what made me almost trip in panic was his face. It had dark stains spread all over. Too dark to be dirt. They looked like dried blood stains. On his face, chest, hands. And the worst part, he was running. Running fast. "Dude, he's got a knife. And there's blood on him." We were about 100 feet from the fence. Almost there. But he was gaining ground. Lucas stumbled. Fell to the ground. "Lucas." I stopped, ran back, helped him up. Lost about 3 precious seconds. When I looked again, the man was less than 30 feet away. I could see his face better now under my flashlight. Wide eyes. Furious expression. And he was screaming something unintelligible, like an animal. "Run." We reached the fence. We practically threw ourselves on the ground and crawled underneath. I felt my shirt tear on the wire, but I didn't even care. On the other side, we got up and kept running. We ran down the empty street without looking back until we were far enough. When we finally stopped to breathe about 2 blocks later, we looked back. Nobody had come out of the park after us. "What the fuck was that? Dude, I don't know. I don't know." We went back to Lucas's house in silence. We didn't even talk about the $50. None of that mattered anymore. That night, neither of us slept well. I kept tossing and turning in bed, seeing that man with blood on his face in my head. Who was he? What had he done? Why was he living in that abandoned park? The next morning, Saturday morning, I woke up to a bunch of messages from Lucas. I ran downstairs and turned on the local news. And what I saw made me freeze. The report was about a violent robbery that had happened the night before, around 11 p.m., at a gas station about 2 miles from Aqua Park. The attendant had been stabbed. He was in the hospital in critical condition. Security cameras showed the assailant, a shirtless man, skinny, big beard, fleeing on foot toward the area where the abandoned park was located. Police were looking for him. Considered armed and extremely dangerous. I called Lucas immediately. "Did you see it? It was him, Lucas. It was the guy we saw." I know. We need to call the police. We know where he was. That pool, the mattress, everything." "And say what? That we broke into private property in the middle of the night? A guy almost died, Lucas. And if we tell, our parents will find out. We could even be arrested for trespassing. And he must have already left there, right? Police must already be searching the park." I wanted to disagree. I wanted to do the right thing. But I was also afraid of the consequences. We were young, stupid, and cowardly. Let me think about it. I spent the whole day tormented. Watching the news, refreshing websites, waiting to see that they had captured the guy. On Monday, the news came out. The attendant had died in the hospital. And the killer still hadn't been found. That destroyed me. The guilt was horrible. And it got worse because a week later, they reported that they found evidence that the suspect had actually hidden in Aqua Park for a few days. But when police got there to investigate, after an anonymous tip from a neighborhood resident, he had already left. If we had called that Saturday morning, maybe they would have caught him faster. Maybe they would have saved the attendant. They caught the guy 3 weeks later in another town. He had robbed a store and police finally managed to capture him. But the attendant was already dead. And I carry this guilt to this day. Lucas and I never talked about that night again. We kind of drifted apart after that. We didn't fight, there was no drama, but I think neither of us could look at each other without remembering. I learned the hard way that some decisions have consequences that go far beyond us. We were worried about $50 and not getting scolded by our parents. Meanwhile, a man was dying. If you ever witness something strange, something that seems wrong, don't do what I did. Don't stay quiet out of fear or convenience, because that choice can haunt you for the rest of your life. To this day, when I pass near that abandoned park, which was finally demolished last year, I think about that night. About the man running after us with blood on his face. And about the man we could have helped save but didn't. The $50? Lucas never paid me. And honestly, I never wanted to receive it. Before you go, tell me, in the protagonist's place, would you have called the police that morning? Or would you have stayed quiet too? I want to know your honest opinion in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Every week I bring horror stories that will mess with your mind. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.